Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our ongoing series where we're meeting some of the fine, brilliant folks that will be joining us at the upcoming APA International Personalization Expo. My name is Angel Martinez, having the pleasure of serving as the marketing manager on the APA team. And first off, thank you to anyone who is joining us live today, or if you're watching this recording back. Much appreciation to you as you're learning about our show and considering whether to join us next month. Crazy to think that we're just 1 month out from the APA Expo. Super excited to get started today. I know folks might just be joining the call or getting the notification that we're live. So as you're joining in, just feel free to ask any questions or comments using the chat function. We'll try to get to some of those. I'll plop them on the screen as well. But just to get the ball rolling, I know many folks might be trying to stay warm over these past few days and even this week. So let us know in the comments. Just a fun question I just thought of. How are you staying warm right now during this time? If it's a warm beverage or just, continue to, grind and work on your business, that's a great way to stay warm too. But yeah, just looking forward to seeing the conversations in the chat. As I mentioned, this is our ongoing live stream series where we are meeting some of the speakers who will be speaking at the APA Expo. And today's session, we'll be talking with the folks who are leading software and design courses. So whether you're creating artwork from scratch, prepping files for lasers, or taking designs from one color to full color, any and all that, we know that the right tools and the right training make all the difference. So if these are things that you're thinking about, you'll definitely want to check out these sessions and even check out some of the other sessions on today. I don't know if I mentioned this, but just going through my house notes, February 24th to 27th, 2026 at the Horseshoe Las Vegas is where we'll be at this year. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I like to say that this is the event for all personalization businesses, especially retail businesses who are looking to improve their workflow, efficiencies, creativity. But also, we were just talking about this earlier before we went live, connect with other folks who are in this entrepreneurial journey or just starting out. Definitely a great way to build those connections. And yeah, super excited for this conversation, but I know folks aren't here to hear me talk. Just want to give that top of the hour spiel. Would love to turn it over to now our speakers who are joining us here today. As we go through each of you, if you could please share your name, company, quick background or experience of how you got into this industry, and then how did you get connected with APA? So Chelsea, you're on my list to go first, if you don't mind getting us started.
Oh man, no pressure. Well, first off, I'm staying warm with a heating pad. I don't know if anybody else has got a heating pad or blanket they're hiding to stay warm. But I'm Chelsea Sauder. I'm one of the co-owners of Houston Acrylic. And I've been in the laser engraving and cutting business for a little over 5 years. Houston Acrylic started in 2020. And it got started because during COVID, Courtney's another co-owner, we were both having troubles in just our normal corporate America, budgets getting cut, people getting cut. She got a Glowforge, and I was that friend who just kept coming over to use it and bother her. And next thing I know, we decided we wanted to work with materials we couldn't find, and we decided we would be the ones to find them. So that's a little bit about how we got started in the industry and with laser cutting specifically. But before that, I had been just a hobbyist maker for years and years, really in the cosplay and textile space, and never really thought a hobby or maker thing could turn into a career. I thought it would just always be kind of a side passion. So I've been really blessed with that. Awesome. Oh, and then APA. Sorry, how did we do APA? So we got connected with APA with networking. So we actually had heard from APA, I think through Engraving Concepts with Randy. They've been going to APA for years. And we went as attendees, and then we decided to go last year as our exhibitors with Houston Acrylic. And we'll be back again this year, and a few of us will also be presenting.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Chelsea, for sharing that. Yeah, I'm super excited for your second year. Yeah, it'll be great. And you mentioned Randy, who's on my list to go next. So great transition. Randy, could share a little bit about yourself and industry knowledge and how you get started with APA?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm one of the luckiest people in the whole wide world. I got hooked up with Roy and Jeanette Brewer. Mr. Roy Brewer, icon in the industry, has as many accolades as APA could produce over the last 30 plus years. Roy Brewer CRM and Jeanette Brewer CRS. So I got involved in a family situation in this business, and that was when I was 14 to 16 years old. And we were talking earlier about my first Vegas trip was when I was 18 years old. Not much to do in Vegas when you're 18, but that was a long time ago. So yeah, we're gonna. So I don't know how many years I've been going. It's been a long run. So got involved with family a long time ago.
Awesome. Appreciate you being here, Randy. Clay, could care to take the mic?
Yeah, for sure. I got into the industry about 2005. My background was by 2006, I started teaching Corel to other people. It was something I picked up kind of naturally, which, the whole graphic side of things, even though my background before that's in not graphic design, but business advertising, marketing, industrial psychology, but fell in love with the industry, with small business owners, with imprinters, with engravers, with CorelDRAW, and as mentioned, started teaching Corel by 2006. I think my first APA was the company before that, but was close to 20 years ago. And where I kind of fit into everything is I started teaching people how to design and these type of things. Clients started, I'd charge per hour, fly out to different shops and teach, Corel for engravers, Corel for screen printers, Corel for embroiderers, Corel for all that. Clients started asking for my cell phone number to be able to bug me and ask questions. So I started a little membership thing 12, 15 years ago. And that's grown into software systems that automate, simplify, and tailor Corel specifically for what we do every day. That's CorelTRAINER, Simple Designer, and tailor basically the world of graphic design to the things that we at the APA show do every day. With those shortcuts, those specific training videos, methods, worksheets, step-by-step learning, all of that. And I still support all my clients. They can still call me, email me, text me, and we take care of them. So I guess that's kind of my whole background. Love it. I love what I do. It's the one thing I got to say twice.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Appreciate your time, Clay, and thank you for being here. Robert, last but certainly not least, could you share a little bit about your background, please?
You bet. Good morning, Robert Kofoed with Computer Creations. Computer Creations was created back in 1994. Been in business for 27 years. Love the process of being able to create designs on the computer and have equipment where you can create those designs and provide them to the customer. So I've always loved that process. Used to have a bunch of CNC machines, did a lot of custom wood products. Back in 2019, I morphed that from the wood creating business over to 100% laser products. Been using Lightburn since 2019, late 2019. And at the time, when I had my first diode laser, it took me literally 2 months to get it to run. And that was primarily because there was just no information out there that would help you out. Of course, you didn't get an instruction manual with any of that kind of stuff. So that's when I really started to enjoy using Lightburn, wanted to always create a YouTube channel because I couldn't find that content and I knew there was a fairly large demand for that. and have been using Lightburn to create our laser-related products since 2020. Got introduced to APA by a couple of fellow makers last year, where indicated, what a great show it was, that the not only all the classes that they offer, but the trade show was one of the biggest ones around, that there was a lot of diversity in the trade show, and that the people were great to deal with. And so I love to speak. I've been speaking in the corporate world for 40 years, and that's something that I'm passionate about and really enjoy. I mean, for me to be speaking and then to be able to talk about something that I absolutely love, as far as Lightburn is concerned, it's just a lot of fun for me. I enjoy the networking, and APA last year was my first year, and it's one of the best. I just absolutely loved it. So we're really looking forward to this year, and can't wait to see everybody.
Awesome to hear. Agreed with everything you just said, and everything that that Randy, Clay, and Chelsea have also shared. If it's your first, second year, or you've been going to the show for a long time, you know that this is a great event to be at and take a lot away. But thank you each for introducing yourself. The next portion of our time together, I've been enjoying this portion in the last few live streams that we have with speakers, but sort of like a mini roundtable discussion almost, just since we have everyone on the call. I think it'd be awesome to just hear, some of the trends or shifts that you're seeing specifically in the software design laser space in 2026. Each of you know that software design is one of the biggest drivers for productivity, profitability, and personalization, because even just small improvements in design workflow or laser file prep can have a huge impact on turnaround time and output quality for your clients. So the question that I'd like each of you to just talk a little bit about or if it's even building on what someone has already just said, is what is one trend or shift you're seeing in software design or laser workflow in 2026? And what challenges do users still consistently run into? So Robert, if you could kick us off with that question, we'd love to hear your thoughts on trends and challenges you're seeing.
Yeah, thank you, Angel. One of the things that I see that's just about everywhere with almost any software that you use today is the advent of AI and how it's influencing the way we do business on a day-to-day process. So AI is big. It's one of those deals that it's not going to go away. You're going to either learn to embrace it and use it, or you're going to be left behind. And so that's one thing that, because in my space where there's so many different types of lasers coming onto the market now, from entry level to advanced to commercial industrial grade lasers, lots of different softwares to operate those machines. And so it's one of the things that I talk about with other people all the time is people struggle to make a decision on which way they should go, because just about the time they master one software, then they have to learn a different software that they didn't realize was going to be required. And so I look at, what we do at APA as to kind of cut through the top and the bottom and give you the meat of the process to make sure that you get the biggest bang for the buck when you come to one of our sessions. But a lot of people struggle. Some people pick up software really quickly. Other people struggle. And so, I've done over 600 one-on-ones now. And so I have a little bit of a unique outlook on kind of how people see things and how they learn and those kind of things. And even though you've got lots of videos out there, you've got lots of people to talk to, everybody learns at a different level and in a different way. And so you've really got to learn to understand that there is no one way and everybody's going to be able to use that way to learn. But AI, what used to take me 6 months or, an hour to do from a graphic design process, takes 10 minutes now, and you can modify it much quicker. And so it's just the advent of all the different softwares that we're getting bombarded with. the incorporation of AI and how that's used, and try to tie all that together with what you're trying to create.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, AI is definitely one of those things, and we're seeing a lot of. Appreciate your thoughts, Robert. On this, continuing on this question of trends or consistent challenges, Clay, anything to add on that?
A few things, but I will piggyback Robert's number one. AI, it's the top question on a lot of people's minds, how it affects things, and I think Robert certainly started the process of thought as it is, and it truly is. AI is a new tool, and it's a tool that can be used to improve a lot of what we do in software and design and things like that, but it has its own learning curve in itself. So it's not, so you now have to learn AI and how to program AI and tell the machine learning system what it is you want out of it, and then adjust that, and then take the results it gives you and still adjust from there typically, so that things start running the way we need them to, right? And we've all heard the jokes and seen the images of not enough fingers or too many fingers. We've all seen the jokes and weird stuff in the fuzzy background. Like, I need a bulldog mascot, and it's like weird. It's just not at all what I'm looking for, and the background is also weird and not at all. So I've helped a lot of clients, sometimes even move away from spending that hour programming the AI so that you can get what you need, when you can do a royalty-free search online, vectorize it, convert it to the really dark black and the light gray that you need so that it lasers perfect. Again, I'm not going to say anything bad about AI. The hint, hint, nudge, nudge, next version of Corel coming out in a few months incorporates it in some of its new tools. It's pretty cool, but I'm going to call it that. I'm going to call it a new tool that's going to help in its own way. And yeah, I guess we'll leave it at that.
Okay. Awesome. Randy, I know. Oh,
sorry. I guess I was kind of,
Yeah. Oh, you're good. Randy, I know you're instructor of CorelDRAW. Anything that to build on that what Clay just mentioned, or anything?
Well, just a little different take, and kind of one of the biggest things I've seen over the last since the pandemic is with the integration of all these other newer lasers, and Robert's doing a good job of training folks on the light burn. But CorelDRAW has been around a long, long time, and what some of our customers are wanting is a faster transition from idea to engraving, and the faster they can speed up that workflow, the better, and fewer mistakes. Of course, AI is in there with that, but they don't want to fight with software anymore. But what's the challenge? Well, the challenge is you could have the best software, the best laser, but you still have the challenges of things like file prep, as you mentioned earlier, understanding the differences. And I know Clay does this in his seminars about just going over fundamentals, because we've got people that have been in your class for the first time, and knowing file types and what formats and filters and extensions mean. That's so crucial for a new user. Mismatch between software and machine, job management, job control, all those things are kind of being more integrated. In the old days, all the lasers were separate, kind of a driver situation. Now with Lightburn running different controllers and CorelDRAW and all the other brands of lasers, it's moving away from I want to be a separate, where we want to, customers want to see all in one. And there's some pros and cons to that. So that's kind of the challenge. And I'm so glad Clay's out there and Robert's out there doing the training, because again, you can have all the best stuff, but without good solid training, it takes you a lot longer to get it done right faster. So
absolutely. Chelsea, on this question, any trends in 2026 or just consistent challenges you're seeing folks need to address?
So mine's probably more on the workflow side and less on the software side. I think everybody else spoke to the software side and had some really good insight there. But in terms of the workflow and like actual tangible goods, I think one of the trends we're seeing in the industry a lot more and more, which is interesting, is that we have the people that have been here for years, kind of like the long time professionals, industry workhorses, have always had that really kind of baseline foundational like workshop experience, like industrial size workshop B2B experience. They have a very select catalog of these are my materials, these are the designs we offer. We don't pivot from it, and it's very condensed and have been perfected over the years. Then a few years ago and more, you're getting the desktop hobbyist makers coming in who aren't kind of burdened by that catalog or mindset. So they're like throwing everything at the wall, at social media, trying everything to see what are people responding to. I'm going to carry 100 different materials and every design is going to be customized. And I'm just going to make everything work and everything being one-off. And what's starting to be the shift that we've seen, which I find really intriguing when it comes to workflows, is one, because cost of goods have gone up, so people are a lot more cost conscious, and also time is valuable. So where can you shave off on time or space? A lot of the products we work with, materials we work with, they take up a lot of space. They're really heavy, and what we've been seeing is the hobbyist makers that used to be like, I can offer anything in any color, in any way, in any design, everything is custom. They're starting to get to the point where they're like, no, there has to be something that makes more sense, that values my time and my workshop space. So how can I maximize my design potential and offerings while minimizing the amount of effort and materials I might actually have to have on site or on hand? But on the flip side, you have these long-standing industries or kind of mainstays that have been around for a while that are like, we need more. We can't just be clear, white, black. There's all these kind of artisan pieces being developed by the incoming kind of like new generation crowd, and we need to meet them where they're there, because if they can have 20 flavors of green, we at least need to have more than just the one basic green. So seeing that shift between the two different sides and how they're working that with that in their finding the right balance, because that's really what it is every maker, every workshop, whether it's a single maker working out of their garage or a larger team working in a fabrication studio, they're going to figure out what their balance is of how they can optimize their catalog of offerings with the set of machines they have and the set of materials they're willing to keep on hand. And I think that's something that everybody's going to really be challenged with this year, is figuring out what the right mix is for them. And a large part of that goes into the designs, because there's been so many times where it's like, okay, I have this design that works great with when I'm working with MDF or when I'm working with two-tone acrylic, but then I have this design that works really well if I'm doing paint fills and paint engravings or sublimate, but being able to figure out a process where you can take one design and use it across multiple materials or color stories, I think is going to be something a lot of makers are forcing themselves to look at this year. So for some, it'll be expanding, for some, it'll be trimming it down. And I'll be curious to see how those converge across the kind of two different subsets of, makers that are around, especially that visit in the APA space.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I wish we had a whole hour and a half, because you all brought up some really, really cool points about just all of it. And Chelsea, you specifically, as I was hearing you speak, I feel like this sounds like a session that's going to be at the expo, and I think there's by Alicia Pate. It's called Mastering Your Niche for Success. So I think it hits on a lot of the points that you're touching on, but definitely, I think that, yeah, something that I'm also seeing folks take into consideration with focus and, not trying to be everything to everyone, I think is a great way to burn out really quickly. But yeah, thank you everyone I know that was a really tight or short roundtable, but if folks are interested in us having those kinds of discussions, even outside of the expo, on this kind of platform, let us know in the comments, or shoot us an email. We're exploring new ways to try to bring folks together and have these kinds of conversations, roundtable discussions on what people across the country and across the world are seeing in the industry. So appreciate you all. I'll quickly transition this over because I know we are running a little low on time, but appreciate everyone's time nonetheless. To what I feel is the meat of what folks are joining us live today or watching the recording, and that's the sessions that each of you will be presenting at. I know that we titled this session Meet the Software or Meet Your Software and Design Instructors. Not everyone that is on this call was teaching all of the courses, but still wanted to give a shout out to the other courses that are not being mentioned in this course in this live, because there are just so many, but just listing them one by one, being taught by Michael Mullins of Laser Engraving 911. He's teaching a course called AI Meets AI, Adobe Illustrator and Artificial Intelligence. So touching on that AI that Robert was just talking about. And the clay, color matching for sublimation by Stacy Benning of JD Industries, also a good one. CorelDRAW, the next big step, tools, techniques, and macros to work smarter. Doug Green, a fan favorite always, so if you want to check out that course. And then last but not least, 5 Jobs I Messed Up and How I Fixed Them by Lori Champagne of Champagne Engraving. So those are some of the other design and software courses I encourage everyone to check out on our website. You can see the link down there, personalizationpros.org/trade show. But again, enough of me talking. Would love to learn about each of these instructors' courses. Starting with you, Chelsea, we'll stay with you. Could you please give us a short teaser of what your session will cover and why this topic might be important for businesses and makers to consider right now?
Yeah, so my session is how to elevate your acrylic designs. So it is going to be focused on how you can take just a flat sheet of plastic, because that's all acrylic really is. It's very two-dimensional, and making your two-dimensional design actually have a lot more depth and dimension to it. So we're going to be going over a lot more of the creative concepts, from starting with how you pick out the right palette, how you determine what finishes or materials would work best together, and how to add an extra layer of depth to your design so that it really stands out amongst others. So it's a great opportunity for people who may have a lot of the fabrication and hard technical skills down, but they're looking to expand maybe more of their creative design eye and process. So what color story are you telling? What vibes are you trying to get across with your design? And how to optimize creativity while still maximizing your material, like being smart about the materials you're carrying. You can do a lot with just having a sheet of black matte and glossy acrylic, and you can make just that one sheet where you're using matte on some areas, glossy on others, and how you change up your engravings or different engraving techniques to make it look like a completely different type of material than maybe you've seen in the past. So that's a bit of what my course will be covering. I would say it's great for anybody between beginner to intermediate levels of knowledge. And again, if you're really looking to try to do something different from a design perspective.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. And I know you're speaking on another course too, right, Chelsea? The panel as well.
No, it's Courtney. So Courtney's going to be speaking another panel, I think, about I should know it. About like optimizing like systems and processes for a company. So again, looking to value your time, value your labor, value your resources. Those are all really great sessions to sit in on.
Awesome. Sorry about that. My bad. But appreciate you, Chelsea. Randy, give us a teaser about your course and why is this topic important for folks to consider taking?
Yeah, so I'm doing 10 things CorelDRAW, 10 things Lightburn, and just kind of bringing those two worlds together. It seems to be, the old days of our industry is kind of been all Corel Draw for many, many years up until the pandemic. And then the last 5 years-ish has been a lot of light burns. So I'm kind of part Clay, part Robert, bringing those two pieces together. And we're going to talk about the benefits of each. They're kind of set very well to do their own thing, but then they kind of share a little bit. So we're going to talk about that, and then when to use each. So it's in some instances, I think both would agree that it's better to use Corel for this, and then others, Lightburn does a great job of this. So we're going to bring some of those things to the class.
Awesome. Yeah, and I love how it's 10 things and it's a really easy takeaway. So appreciate you for sharing a little bit about that, Randy. Robert, your course, Mastering Lightburn, 30 Advanced Tips. Could you share a little bit about your course, please?
You bet. This session is going to be a little bit on the advanced side. So this is going to be for the Lightburn user that has used it for a little while, understands the interface, can get around Lightburn, but now that they're comfortable with doing simple things in Lightburn, that they want to take their skills to that next level and really start to create some unique products, get faster at what they do, understand what the workflow looks like. So this is not a beginner type session. It's going to be, we're going to kind of jump into the meat and potatoes of certain processes that you may not understand or might not even know that Lightburn is capable of. And so I'll go through a lot of different tips and tricks on different things. And the way I'm going to structure it is we're going to talk about a real use case for this particular tip or trick or feature that Lightburn has, and the different uses that you can utilize and how it is. The other thing that I've done is in the slide deck that I'm going to present, it is step by step by step. So that way, when you download that presentation, you will have exactly what you need to go home and start to utilize those more advanced techniques that you want to try and become a better, more efficient Lightburn user. And so I'm excited about it. We're going to cover some things that I haven't covered in any other session and any other speaking engagement I've had. We're going to cover some pretty detailed things like variable text. That if you don't understand it, we're going to take some time to explore it. And it's those kind of things that if you sit through it and you get a step-by-step process of it, you can go home, you can try it. It takes your skill level, for that hour session that you're going to sit in on. It will increase the ability that you can use Lightburn by tenfold, because not only have you seen how it's used in a real life scenario, but now you know how to do it step by step. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Appreciate you, Robert. And last but not least, Clay, could you talk a little bit about your class, please?
Yeah, for sure. So my class is from one color engraving to full color printing in Corel. The direction of the industry for the past few years is I see more and more engravers getting into the world of digital printing in one form or another. Whether it's, as Chelsea was talking about, different acrylic, prints and UV printing and or to opening up their shop to apparel decoration, who knows? So starting the class with just the fundamentals of Corel and getting everybody on the same page real quick, and then spending a little bit of time on bitmap to vector tracing, something we need to go over at least some degree, and that'll allow me to explain the difference between that black and white graphic, that grayscale graphic, that full color graphic, that multiple color graphic, how these things overlap, and defining the different types of art while explaining how to use Corel Capture and Corel Power Trace to obtain what it is we need. From there, we'll spend the rest of the class customizing the said graphic for engraving applications as well as full color print. Things like, really light and dark areas to be engraved or not engraved, to, different coloring and shadowing and printing techniques with that same art. and using Corel to really walk that through. I'd say also more of a beginner to intermediate. We're not going to go super advanced, but we will work with some higher end graphic steps and higher end design concepts in a more intermediate format of using Corel for that photo, for that, vectorization, removing background, adding effects, and really getting, nice, awesome color, as well as maintaining that same graphic and art in the world of, nice, distinct engraving with the same art. We'll jump online. We'll grab a graphic off the internet that somebody wants us to work with. We'll work with that specifically during the class. And I just like to say, I pride myself on tailoring live classes to those in the room. So I'm sure APA records it and people will watch, and will be some major, bullet points that we get to that are listed on my outline, and then a few that aren't even listed on my outline because somebody in the front row asked that question. And we spent 5 or 8 minutes on that specific subject. So come to the class.
Absolutely. Yeah. And also, I love that there's a diversity of also beginner, intermediate to advanced. So definitely something for everyone. So really excited for each of your sessions. Clay, staying with you, this next question, just 2 more questions for everyone. Appreciate your time still. Is I've been enjoying seeing what some speakers, talking about their own session, but also other sessions that they're excited about. So aside from your own session, which other Expo classes are you personally excited about and why? Just give some shout outs to some other folks that are speaking.
I was clicking through them, obviously, other than, other Corel classes. There's one that really stood out to me is get your ducks in a row so you can grow. Number 1, it rhymes. Number 2, the word ducks is awesome. And number 3, I think the most important part of that is the simple fact that it reminds all of us that we are a business. As much as we love the industry and we love our clients, we love working with everybody else, but getting your ducks in a row so you can grow. And I was reading it, I was like, this just reminds everyone it's okay to ask for the money. It's okay to put a value on your time with the art. It's okay to, that's the one I was like, I'm going to try to pop into that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. I think Pam Dietz Connolly taught that class and is teaching it again this year. So really, really great course. Going backwards though, Robert, any courses that you want to give a shout out to that you're excited to attend?
Yeah, the 2 I'm excited to attend, the same way with Clay, is getting your ducks in a row. That I'm sure Alicia's going to do a great job there. And then because I'm looking at getting more into the printing side of the business, the CorelTRAINER information definitely is going to be something I'm going to sit in on.
Awesome. Randy, you've seen your fair share of classes. Which ones stick out to you this year apart from your own?
Oh, gosh, well, I would love to come to Clay's, but I'll be working the floor that time that it's on, but it'll be recorded so I can catch it later. I'm an education advocate for Doug Green, so I always enjoy going to Doug's classes, so I'll be there whether I like it or not. So, but now Doug will do a good job, and I'll probably pop into Chelsea's class and Robert's class. I know I'll pick some things up from each one of those. So it looks like I'll have time to do it. So, yep.
Awesome. Appreciate you. And Chelsea, any stick out to you?
I wanted to go to all of them. I'm honestly a little bit bummed I'm here as an exhibitor and not an attendee, because so many of the ones that caught my eyes, like I know I'm covering the booth or I'm talking. But specifically, one that really caught my eye, you had already mentioned it, is the color matching for sublimation. I know right now the big thing is UV this, UV that, all UV. We've gotten into UV, but we still have so many people in the sublimation space, and I don't see that going away just because of the barrier to entry with UV printing. So I like doing a sublimation education session. We get tons of questions from people wanting to get into sublimation or in sublimation, but wanting to elevate their sublimation skills. So that's definitely one I have my eye on. And then if I wasn't on the floor, I was honestly like salivating over some of the hands-on sessions you guys are doing. And one of the ones that really just jumped out to me is the hands-on session with laser cut appliques that they're doing with different textile decorations. I think Daryl at Trotex doing that one, because like I said, I started in like cosplay and costume prop making and fabrication. So anything in that textile space, I always find really, really exciting. So I think if people have the opportunity to go to any of those hands-on sessions, that's just an opportunity I wouldn't pass up.
Worth the money for sure. Worth the money.
Yeah. And the only thing I'll build on that is that those courses, I think, are the only ones that also have a limited class space, because all the other sessions typically have enough room for folks to be able to pop in. But the hands-on courses, I think are limited to 30 or some odd seats. So definitely, like what Chelsea just said, if you want to take one of those and get your hands dirty and work with some equipment and work with these educators too. I know they're great. Darren, Braden, Daryl, and Liz, any and all of them. Definitely encourage you to check it out. All right, as we are starting to wrap up, just have one more question, but just again, thank you to any and all who are still sticking with us. Or, again, if you're watching this recording, I would be remiss if I didn't, plug it again. But if you have not registered at this point, we are 1 month out. I know with booking planes, hotels, things of that nature, we still have our room block, I believe, at the for the expo. But just get it all taken care of today. Definitely encourage you to do that. We'd love to have you and to connect with everyone here, take a new nugget away, take something back to your business, and just meet some great people, honestly. And it'll be a great time in Las Vegas. So thank you to each of our speakers, and of course to everyone who has joined us today. But my last question, Chelsea, if it's okay if I stick with you, is on advice, tips that you might want to give to someone going to the expo for the first time. I believe you said before we went live or at the beginning that last year was your first time. I think you and Robert. But yeah, my question is, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone attending the expo for the first time?
If you're attending the expo for the first time, I'd say don't be shy and be okay with being tired, because it is just a whirlwind of amazing knowledge, amazing people, an amazing community. And I think it can feel a little bit intimidating going in, but everybody who's there, they're there because they're passionate about what we do. They're passionate about the art, the making, the makers behind the art. And don't hesitate to walk up to someone. If you see someone at a booth and you want to ask about the booth, ask about the booth. If you heard somebody make a comment about, a new technique or something they've been trying, ask them about it, introduce yourself. I had so many people I would see last year, like walk by our booth and like take a gander, and then would like come by like 5 different times before they finally felt like they could come up and, talk to me or, ask us something. And just, I tend to be more introverted too, especially in large crowds, but just try to like put yourself out there and know that, whether you stock up on caffeine, energy drinks, coffee, whatever it is, just be like, I'm going to put everything I possibly can into absorbing as much as I can in these few days. And you can just be tired and sleep when you get home, because you aren't going to want to miss a moment. It's so easy when you're there to say like, oh, I'm not going to go to that networking event because I'm tired, or, oh, I'm in Vegas, so I want to go to this show instead of going to this, everybody's going out for, dinner, or groups meeting up just to chit chat or stay on the floor. Like stay with the group, stay with the community, soak up everything with the people, because it is just an amazing time we only get to experience once a year, and it's worth it.
Absolutely. Randy, any tips or tricks for first-time attendees?
Yeah, and maybe Chelsea mentioned this, but there is a first-time attendee welcome with the association on Wednesday, February the 25th. Mm-hmm. So definitely be a part of that. I mean, plan your time, but leave other minutes and hours to explore things you might not have known you needed to hear. So talk to vendors, as she said, other shop owners, and kind of like Robert said early on, a lot of the nuggets you're going to get are just passing someone in the hall when you're sitting down with them at dinner. Don't be afraid to have those conversations, because you'll you'll learn some things that you'll carry into your shop and use right away. So definitely.
Awesome. Robert, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would say is just don't be afraid to ask questions. Just that you've got this absolute huge resource with all these people and a lot of people that have done a lot of this for a long time. And so, don't be bashful. If you see any one of us and we're not in the session and you got further questions about a particular topic that you're interested in, don't be afraid to approach us and start up a conversation. That's what we live for. That's a reason why we're there. And so don't be bashful. We love to talk to you guys. And if you've got a question and you're not necessarily want to bring it up in one of our sessions and you see us, on the floor somewhere, come say hi. We would love to talk to you.
Absolutely. That's been my experience with all these folks here and anyone else that I've gotten the chance to meet at APA. Always welcoming and willing to help out. So, Clay, last but not least, any tips or tricks for first-time attendees?
Yeah, mostly to echo the others. As a new attendee, think to yourself, I'm here to find ways to improve my business, and have an open mind, whether it's somebody in the hall or a class or at a booth or at dinner. You're gonna find something that you did not expect to find while you're there, and be open to having that new concept be a way to improve your business. With that, take your time. If you were thinking about only trying to cram everything into one day, I'd say, do 2 or 3. So if you take your time and you keep an open mind and finding new ways to improve your business, you will not be disappointed.
Awesome. I think that's a great way to end our time together. I hope everyone was taking notes. If not, you can watch this back. But everything that these folks said on their courses, the tips for the first-time attendees, or even just anything that they shared in that little mini roundtable. Hope someone or everyone got some value out of today's session. Last thing I'll say, huge thanks to Chelsea, Robert, Randy, and Clay for joining us. I don't take it lightly that you all joined this call and talked about your classes today in the APA Expo. So thank you to you. Thank you to the attendees who joined us today, or if you're watching it now or watching it back. And last thing I'll say is see everyone in Vegas. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us, and see you around.
Thank y'all.
Look forward to seeing you.
Bye-bye.